Yeah, I told you. Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. Just to let you know that I'm here today at Alperton Police Base, where I've been many times before. What we're doing here today, I've just put this on their fence. I can just turn this around. I can't even see, I'm really sorry because the sun is in my face. I'll do it this way. Don't know if you can see that, but it says Met Police covered up the murders of Josh, Harry and George. Now we're here today with letters that I have here, and it is the letter from the MP Nick Hurd to the Attorney General on the 1st of August 2019. And what I'm doing here today is showing the Met Police, or any police officer that goes in here, what their colleagues did. Now they're either all corrupt in this building, or some are not. So the ones who are not, I'm sure, will be shocked by this damaging letter of what was sent to the Attorney General. Now, 3 of the coppers' names, the constables' names, are on this letter, are on the front of this letter. So the police going in that we shall give this letter to will see what colleagues did what they did to Josh, Harry and George. Let me see if I can turn this around because it's not working properly. Bear with me. No, it's not letting me turn it. I apologise. I'm sure shortly the police will be asking what we are doing outside. Now what I've done as well, as a mother, as a woman of this land, I've brought the constables down to the level of the men and the women, because that's what I am. So their names on here are Jane of the family Shaw, Robert of the family Simpson, and Daniela of the family Zenga. 3 of the main players who were involved in the cover-up, the cover-up of our boys.
Okay. Your colleagues have let us down. Oh, okay. In relation to the 3 lads that were on over. That's the mother, Tracy. No, I think we've met previously, Tracy.
I don't know.
Possibly. Well, I'm probably one of a large number of faces tonight.
Many. There's many.
So we're here today just to put the message strong.
We're here to show that these 3 people are 3 of the main players in the cover-up of the murder of Josh, Harry and George. Something that we're not going to accept. It's misconduct in office, which is a common law offence. Yeah, and I will be bringing them in for trespass against my property. Okay. Yeah, using the common law for what they've done. So what we've done today is brought these letters to show their colleagues what they did, because the evidence is in there.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's no problem at all. Just to make you aware, you are aware.
I'm allowed to peacefully assemble.
I'm not saying anything about that at all. Just making you aware of sort of complaints process and things like that if you need to be.
We've been that route, yeah, and every response to that complaint, and it's not a complaint when it involves cover-up and corruption, it's a lot more serious than that, was a lie.
Okay.
Every response, 48 points. We've done the process.
You've been through it?
We've done the process.
Okay, that's fine.
And every institution is covered with corruption, common purpose people, secret handshakers. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we know what's been done. We know how it's run. We've learnt the legal realm we live in. We've learnt what they did to our children, and we know what they did to our children. And I'm lawfully right to do what I'm doing here today.
No, I'm not saying you aren't at all. I've not said that, have I?
No, I'm just letting you know that I know.
Fine. I'm aware of that. I'm sure you can imagine we deal with a bit of public audience, so we're aware of that. We've got no issues with that at all. It's really just to kind of see what you guys are up to.
Yeah, what I'm here to do is give every constable that will take a letter the evidence of what your colleagues did in that building to 3 children.
Okay, all right, no worries. The only thing I would ask is, would you mind taking the sign off the railings, please?
It's on the outside.
Sorry?
It's on the outside.
Yeah,
Is that a public building?
No, it's not.
It's not. Could you prove to me that it's not a public building?
It's a private police premises.
Could you prove to me that the outside has nothing to do with the public? So we haven't paid for this?
No.
The public haven't paid for that?
No, it's come from public funds, absolutely, yeah, but it's private police premises.
Right, so it's come from public funds, but it's private premises. Hang on, how does that work?
Sorry?
How does that work?
How does what work?
What I just said to you, if the public have paid for that, how is it then private?
Because it's property of the police, isn't it? Okay.
So how's it your... No, it's the property of...
What I've asked
it's the
is, would you mind taking the sign down?
hang on, it's the property
You've not answered my
of the
question
people.
either.
I don't have to answer questions. I don't contract.
Sorry?
I don't contract.
You don't contract?
I don't contract, no.
In what terms would you mean?
I don't contract with people who... Are you under your oath here?
Absolutely, yeah.
Are you acting as a constable or a police officer?
The same thing.
Sorry?
They're the same thing.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
No, they're not. One acts
under the
under
office of
acts and
constable, isn't it?
statutes, and one acts under the common law. So they're not the same thing.
We
If
act
you
both
think,
under statute
if
and
you
common law,
actually
don't we?
think that they're the same thing, then you need retraining.
You've not listened to what I've just said either, have you?
I don't have to. I don't contract. I just said.
We're having a discussion, aren't we?
You just told us that that was paid for with
Yeah,
the
what I've
people's
said is, would you mind
funds,
taking that
but
down?
it's the own. Well, prove to me this isn't public property.
I've asked you, would you mind taking it down?
Do
What's your
the
response to that,
police? Do the police own this building?
please? Absolutely.
With the use of what? The people's money?
Exactly, so we own it. The public own it.
Probably
Yeah.
don't know the police own it,
The
right?
police
So
own
what
it.
I've asked...
So the police are part
Could
of
you
it.
just prove to me that you own that, and then you can prove to me that that's private
I don't own
property?
it. Obviously not.
So
But
say
you
the
said the
police
people paid for that,
Yeah,
but the Met own it.
that's right.
Well, how does that work?
are the company from
Fraudulent, see? Fraudulent.
So are you willing to take the sign down? Was my question. Was that a yes
What
or
they
no?
want me to do is not embarrass them any further, and they want me to take the sign that is on the outside of a building that the people paid for, but apparently the Met own.
What about the lamppost? They're the lamppost.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So it's just asking you to come off the railings. That's all. Okay. Which I...
That's fine.
Do you know what? It's an absolute tragedy for us, these 3 lads.
And it's an absolute tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy that your colleagues did what they did.
Okay. Tracy, I can't...
The letter speaks for itself.
Okay, but I don't know about the investigation as a part of it. Okay, so I couldn't possibly comment on it. It would be fair, wouldn't it? Okay.
Yeah, see if they...
Now, what I am saying is this is a tragedy, what's happened here.
Yeah, it's a tragedy that your colleagues covered this up. Hello there. We're just giving these out.
We are actually
You
just
are allowed to-
delivering a carrier, so that is all we're doing here.
So how comes you're driving one of these vehicles then, if you're just
Tracy, would you
delivering a
mind
carrier?
just stepping away from the vehicle?
Huh?
We're here to deliver the carrier.
Yeah, because you don't want
I
them
do.
to see, do you? You just don't want them to see.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right, so then leave me alone, please.
Coming in the gates, that's all.
No, I'm not. Obstruction would be standing in the front of it. Obstruction would be standing in the front.
You've got one.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll leave it to you guys. Alright, have a good day.
We'd literally got here 5 minutes, not even
Yeah,
that.
we wouldn't see a sheet.
Not even that. I can't turn this around. So there's a TSG vehicle that just pulled up. First of all, they just said they was carrying a what? Transport vehicle. But they did take a letter. Actually, we need to go the other side, don't we? Because the drivers are the other side. Excuse me, everyone. And I'm sorry because I can't read any comments. The sun's so bright that it's in my eyes. So you heard the, well, he didn't know, he said he was acting under both. He said he was acting as a police officer and a police constable.
The other side there.
Yeah. And he said that the building was paid with people's funds, so our tax-paying money, yeah, but he said the Met Police own it. So we have bought it as people, and the Met Police have taken it as their building. And you heard that quite clearly from whatever that man was acting under. What they don't want and what they don't like is people going to be seeing their colleagues, going to be seeing what their colleagues in that building did to 3 children. Next week, next Thursday to be precise, my son would have been 19, full of life, full of laughter, a kind boy. He would have been, you know, a good man to marry, a good father. He was kind, generous, and cared about people. Him, George and Harry didn't deserve what happened to them, just like any other children does not deserve what happened to them. The way they were treated by the institutions, by the coroner's office, by the CPS, by the police, the way us families have been treated ever since is wrong. It's wrong on every level. Now, the amount of times I've seen people say, well, they caught one of them and, you know, he got a certain amount of time in prison. It's not good enough. They put him on the wrong charge because they didn't want you to know what they did that night, which was deliberately drive into our children. And they don't want you to know the truth of what is going on in our streets and in the country you live in. And that's why I've been out here ever since, to try and let everybody know what is going on. What happened to our boys? Well done, Paul. Someone else has just took one, which is great. Lost what I was saying now before that. They need to be on the right charge. Right now, at this moment, we do not know whether the person they convicted was even the person driving that night. We do not even know if it was the person. Now, I've told you so much of what happened in our boys' case. So much. But obviously there is stuff that we haven't been able to tell, which will come out in future. For obvious reasons, we haven't been able to give everything that we know. Even they don't know in that building everything that we know. They think they do, but they don't. They believe, the government, that they own our children. I was clearly told, and it was clearly stated to me, that it was a crime against the state and not my son. I created my son. My son was my property, and he has been trespassed against. And these are the words that you have to learn. Because what they did to the working class and the poor is they didn't teach us properly, and they lied to us throughout all our schooling, through the teachers, unbeknown obviously to some of the teachers. Now we've got a lot of Marxists in the schools that are pushing an agenda intentionally. But they lied to us, and they created this legal realm. And it's now about knowing who you are, your title, your jurisdiction, and grammar. and grammar. And considering I can't pronounce certain words, I've had a lot to learn. But intentionally they didn't teach us these things so they could keep us as their chattel, their sweat and labour. Now, I could go on about what's going on in the country right now, but that's for a different time. Today I'm here to show the Met Police that I'm not going anywhere, and to show the colleagues of the people that did this to our boys and who they were, and the letter that has 4 points in there for a retrial. Now, since this letter, there's many more points that could be added to this. And there was more points when we had that meeting, but obviously we didn't want to give everything over. Retyped statements, saying the car lost control when it never did, saying it clipped a curb and it never did, saying that when it overtook between 2 bollards it was doing 71 miles an hour, was an impossible manoeuvre because it was a lie. It was after he passed the bollard, he put his foot down and revved up. That's a fact. By the witnesses that were at the scene. The witnesses that they retyped up. Their versions. What happened there? What happened there?
Get out the way, he says. Get out the way.
Yeah. Because it's obviously been passed round now that we're outside and we're giving paper. And they've probably said don't take their paper. So already here, it's as long as the ones who covered it up can see that I'm here, and then I'm not going anywhere. And misconduct in office is a common law offence dating back to I think it's 1784, something like that, around that time. And there's case law on that. So remember that when you're suffering their abuse of power, that there is case law under misconduct of office dating back to 1784, and they always seem to use case law, old case law. They don't seem to be they don't like to make up new case law, and everything's under a presumption and assumption, and people, we have been fooled. The solutions are, I mean, for me, I don't live in their legal realm anymore because I know what their legal realm is. It's all about contracts and agreements. So don't contract, don't consent. And it's not about collective consent. It's about individual consent because you vote individually. Remember that. They will make up lies and everything else, anything to try and get you consent. You've got to know who you are. You've got to know who you are and learn and research and everything else. Look, he must be at the door. He must be at the door.
Cowards.
So I've got Paul here, Paul and Glenda. Paul has suffered at the hands a lot of the corrupt council, police brutality. Glenda here herself was in a cell once, had a seizure, and they didn't even call anyone for her.
Exactly.
Yeah. They didn't call no doctor, no
nurse,
still
waiting
nothing.
for the footage.
Yep, and they've been asking for the footage for that, and it's still been denied, even under a subject to access request. Yeah, a DSAR. And anyone wanting to do that, contact the ICO and they'll give you a template for that. Hopefully when some of these come back to work tomorrow, they'll be looking at some of their colleagues in a different light, because the 4 points of evidence in this on its own is enough. Perjury, tampering with evidence, failing in their duty, everything you could think of, they did with regards to our children, and are still doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off a minute, everyone, only because I can't see comments, I can't answer anything you're saying, and I'm going to turn the phone round the other way. And if they start coming out and misbehaving, which is what they think they can do because they abuse their power and they think they're above the law, which they're not. No man has power over another. No man. And then I shall put it back on.